Hi everyone, good afternoon. Just a quick show of hands. How many of you are planning to go into Southeast Asia? How many of you have already went into Southeast Asia? Good job, good job. Okay, so what I'll share in a short while hopefully is useful. It's a bit more about Edtech in Southeast Asia, what we do, and hopefully there's an angle for us to help. But more importantly, to give you information that you can make a decision so that can help your business grow. So I'll share a bit about what we do first. I think the context of what we do is important. It gives you a context of how we execute in Southeast Asia and some learning points that you may have. So in short, we are an EdTech accelerator and an EdTech ecosystem. So we are part of a larger Southeast Asian ecosystem that was launched in 2019 along with Enterprise Singapore, which is the trade ministry in Singapore. To date, we run 2 programs every year, very intensive programs, and a lot of good GTM shorter programs throughout the year. So as we all know, transformation happens across all verticals. And in our case, we look at the entire spectrum. So anything from early childhood all the way to lifelong workforce. And we know each of the challenges and why we think there are opportunities for all of us to bring our EdTech solutions in market to solve each of these sub-segments. And increasingly, over the years, what we are starting to see is EdTech is now become a horizontal. So we are not just going to schools, but into sectors, agriculture, finance, and all this. They are learning to be done across all sectors that EdTech can play a part, right? And governments now are also pushing a lot in terms of skills, reskilling, and these are all opportunities for us, for all of us to push ahead. We are one of the largest EdTech investors in Southeast Asia. We have invested in 70 plus companies now, and it cuts across different sub-segments. So far, most of these companies are largely in and from Southeast Asia. Last year, 2023 December, HolonIQ ranked top 50 across Southeast Asia. 20%, 10 of these companies are from our portfolio. And you can see that they are from each of these different sub-segments. So we do have a very strong focus in Southeast Asia. Largely the 6 strong ASEAN countries, and with the mission of really helping to invest in these companies and also grow the ecosystem to really help improve learning across education and create the outcome and impact. So the approach that we have taken is really an ecosystem network approach. So we look at each of these stakeholders. So in our case, anything from investors, government agencies, public organizations, universities, private schools, standard bodies, all the stakeholders that can affect. That's why we have a lot of friends and partners. So in Korea, we work also with Learning Spark, right? So all these partners come together to help. We have a lot of partnership agreements across. This is just a snapshot. You will see that almost all the universities, all the polys in Singapore are all MOU partners. We have schools across different countries, in Indonesia, in Vietnam, in Malaysia, in Thailand. On average, 50 to 200 schools in each of these markets. And you'll see that there are some of these larger tech, Google, Microsoft, AWS, they're all partners in the sense that once we invest, they come in to support. They come in to give in credits and other tech support as well. Again, we are part of a larger global alliance called GISA. So we represent Singapore and Southeast Asia. Learning Spark represents Korea. And we have another 34 partners across globally. And if I dive a bit into EdTech investment, you will see that in Southeast Asia, it is still a bit early. A lot of the companies have raised between seed to B. In our context, it's about US dollars 800,000 to about 5 million. That said, there are certain big outliers. There are companies like Ranguru that have raised 200, Lingo A has raised 160, and Xiaofu that has raised about 60 million. So it is still at a fairly nascent stage, even though it has been active for the last 3-4 years. This is where we think that the opportunity for growth is still huge. And in our case, we look at companies that are ready to productize, ready to monetize, or have monetized, ready to expand into Southeast Asia, and of course, opportunity to exit in the future. With that, we also support companies in terms of investment, in terms of a lot of credits and perks from all our partners, a large ecosystem. We are also a partner with the Singapore Ministry of Manpower. If any of you need entrepreneurs or passes into Singapore, these are areas that we can support and help as well. This is just a few snapshots on some of the things we do in market We usually go in with a team of 8 to 10 companies. We bring in 50 schools, connect all the schools, create pilot projects, create opportunities to engage, a lot of meetings, a lot of networkings, just to make sure that the schools have the opportunity to test your product and move this forward. And some of our mentors. So that's just a quick snapshot on and context of what we have been doing. I will share a bit more about EdTech landscape across Southeast Asia. So as you may know, Southeast Asia is about 700 million. Slightly bigger, Korea 50 million. The key markets across Southeast Asia, look at Vietnam, Thailand, Philippines, Malaysia, Singapore, and Indonesia. That's about 589. There's a key 6 ASEAN markets that we focus in. And projected to be the 4th largest economies in just the next 6 years. Right now we are 5th, behind US, China, Japan, Germany. But you look at the growth in terms of internet users, it has constantly increased over the years, and 70% of the region now has online access, internet access. And the biggest point to take note is the largest mobile growing. So in countries like Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Vietnam, Philippines, a lot of the users are mobile first. So they may not have full access to laptops and all, but mobile access, 90% of them would have. And if we look at middle class growth, over the past 24 years, it has consistently grown. Grow over the years, and is now the largest middle class population globally in Asia-Pac. Right? And if you look at middle class spending, as they continue to grow and improve and modernize, the amount of money they're spending and on education, it's constantly increasing. As we all know, some of us are parents here, education is always top priority. So that has also been shown reflected in many of the economies in Southeast Asia. One learning lesson here, just to share our thesis and our understanding. Most of the teams that we look at, most of the companies we work with, do not just look at one market. Southeast Asia is a fragmented market. It's a bit like Europe, many smaller countries, but we look at it as opportunity and ability to have multi-markets. And why is that so? If you look at Korea, you can dive deep Korea as a market. But if you can demonstrate ability to be able to go in Korea plus one more country, you have demonstrated that your company has the potential and ability to grow much bigger. And similarly, in this case, what we have learned is single market China, huge, right? Overnight, 100 billion can be just taken away because of one change in policy. It's the double reduction policy. Because it's so stressful in China, students are being pushed in terms of homework, time, full day after school studies, things like that. And if I may dive a bit into each of these markets, just to share some context and give you some understanding. If you look at Indonesia, it's the largest across Southeast Asia, 270 million with 50 million students. But PISA ranking, one of the lowest, of the lower ones, 71 out of 81. The government has increased their education budget. It's now standing at about 41 billion, right? But with such a large population, they also find that it's difficult. So a lot of the strategy is targeted at teachers level, not at student level. How do we help teachers teach better, right? Because to able to get so many students in and have enough incentives to cover that may be difficult. But they do also have a lot of focus in upskilling, higher education, vocational, and also skills development. There are budgets set aside, about 1.4 billion for this new project, which I'll share in a short, not new, but this vocational training, which I will share in the next slide. So this is the skills and competency development framework and grant that the government is giving. Any local citizen 18 years and above can utilize about Sing dollar 350, US dollar about $220 to take any training, whether it's an in-between job or pre-employment training, to help them create and have opportunity to improve their skill set. Right? And that is what the government is pushing to improve skills development. They also have a Campus Merdeka project, which is really to help the younger generation with their career preparation, targeted at a lot of the students that gives them opportunity to go direct into workforce, but they also partnered with a lot of universities and all the organizations to create opportunity for students to go in, learn on the job, and quickly get started, and the government pays for this. Right? So there are a lot of opportunity in this space, in the higher ed, vocational training, university, and skills development. Indonesia is not new to Edtech. So for us, for Edtechs thinking about going in, have to really be very innovative, find your niche or find your partner, right? They have been doing Edtech for the last, aggressively, I would say 5 to 8 years. And in the last few years, with COVID, it has also risen quite a fair bit. Next market, Vietnam. Some of you may be familiar. I know Vietnam has a large population, a community of Koreans, $100 million market, 100 million population, 20 million students, very strong internet access. Edtech market in Vietnam is about 3 billion. Vietnam is probably the highest sort of percentage household expense on education, higher than Singapore in terms of percentage. But quantum-wise, Singapore, everything expensive, so we pay more, right? But their willingness to pay for education is very high, and you see it in the culture. Every family, every parent is spending a lot of money to help the children improve, and that lies a strong opportunity for all of us going in. They also have very strong demand for K-12 and language learning. So if you look at STEM learning, language learning, that is one of the key focuses at this point. 15% of the government budget is spent on education. That's a bit on the high side, but it's a good indication. And in Vietnam, you see a lot of OMO, online merge offline, which is hybrid, right? What we understand as that, and that is a growing trend. And in Vietnam, the number of Edtech companies is also on the rise, right? So I do see strong complementary, strong similarity between Vietnam and a bit of Korean landscape, right? And the solutions, we are starting to see a lot of STEM, a lot of robotic solutions. So there are a lot of opportunities for companies here to look at either entering the market or partnering with people in the market. I think I have 2 more markets, just quickly go through. Thailand, a bit smaller, 70 million, 20 million students. They are a bit earlier, much more nascent Edtech policy, but the government has realized that, and they have made plans to revamp the education system. The new curriculum now incorporates teaching and learning solutions, technology solutions to across the school, and coding is compulsory, right? And that is a big boost to the shift in Edtech. And they have set aside about 13 billion for the education budget. But so far from our engagement, Thailand, we tend to only cover the top private segment. Mass market, still not the easiest to penetrate. They do have a growing, but not huge. I would say still fairly early in terms of the Thai Edtech market. And the last country I just want to dive a bit deeper. I'm from Singapore, so very small country, 5.8 million only. But our tuition market is about $1.5 billion. So you take a stone and throw any family on the road, most of them have tuition. Yeah, I would say 1 out of 10, probably 1 out of 10 will not have, but majority of them will have. Very strong push by government to do skills upgrading, skills development. Our education budget, although it's a much, much smaller country, you look at it, it's 11 billion. It's close to some of the other markets, not too far from it. And we do have a national Edtech master plan. We also have a national AI strategy that also includes education as a key pillar, right? Which I will show a bit of those in the next few slides. And so Singapore as the market, definitely possible, but it is also a very crowded and small market. So good to have a touch point, landing point, and probably use that as a base for the rest of Southeast Asia. Maybe I can spend a bit more time to dive a bit into Edtech master plan, just to give you all some high-level understanding. So with the understanding that a lot of the kids these days are born digital, they start using iPad, mobile technology at a very young age. So the vision of Edtech master plan is really to look at technology transformed learning for this generation, to prepare the students for a technology transformed world, right? So high leverage on technology to be able to help students learn in the next 5 to 10 years, leverage technology, leverage Edtech, so that education can be more self-directed, so that they can use tools and take ownership of learning. It's more personalized to create solutions that is individualized, personalized to the learners, and a connected, collaborative learning experience. And more importantly, it must be human-centered. So a lot of data is collected such that we can look at the development of education. The key goals for the Edtech master plan really is to look at 4 layers: student, teacher, school, and the larger ecosystem, right? So of these 4 layers, it has to be across all and not just one part. Earlier I mentioned Indonesia, the focus now is more on teacher, right? In our case, it's across. And the 3 key enablers that we're looking at is learning analytics and data, school infrastructure and processes, and Edtech ecosystem, which we also play a part in creating that stakeholder network. And also strategic trust. There are 5 strategic trusts to look at how each of these can be executed across the next 5 to 6 years. We do have this thing called student learning space. I think quite uniquely, this is a national LMS. So in Singapore, every child between 7 to 16 years old is mandated, compulsory, have to go through public school. And this platform is again mandated, compulsory, everybody have to use. So it becomes a unified single source of platform that they can start to push content, assessment, homework, video, analytics collection, learning data collection, and many things else. We are now starting to implement AI features into this entire national LMS. So I'll share that in the next slide. So with our national AI strategy in Singapore, 5 years ago, we launched our first national AI strategy. And within that, there are 5 pillars. Pillar number 4 is education. The intent is really to make education personalized through adaptive learning. And if you could see at the corner over there, the eventual goal is to have every child with an AI learning companion. And 5 years ago, we may think that's a bit far-fetched. Today, just walking around the exhibition, I think there are a lot of solutions that is gearing towards that. I think there's huge possibility that as our kids grow up, they will be accompanied by an AI learning device or companion. December last year, we launched AI Strategy 2.0, a deeper dive into looking at how to create the same AI, but AI for good, and with 2 goals of excellence and empowerment. Last year, our Ministry of Education also announced that we will be incorporating AI into all the curriculum. So that can be a bit scary, but it's in the works. The plan is to have that progressively roll out across the next few years. I'll come back to that slide. And just now I talked about student learning space. The features and the whole platform will now be AI enabled. And we are starting to put in AI English, AI Math, AI everything into the national platform. And that helps to guide and help to make things very personalized. But as we do that, a lot of these data are being collected to look at how each of these individual students can eventually have a personalized growth, personalized learning. And we have another organization called AI Singapore. They took a deep dive into helping students become AI certified, starting with basic literacy in AI, eventually moving them into industry certification for AI competency. Beyond K-12, my last 3 sites, we also have some initiatives to look at skills development. So those of you that are looking at post K-12, looking at developing skills with Edtech, every single citizen have a $500 budget that they can use to activate for learning for new skills or upgrading. If you're above 40, you have double of that that you can use for skills development. And all these are government grant to push the citizens to continue to learn. And it's a $900 million budget for a small population, right? And that cuts across all sectors, right? So if you look at the platform, if you go to My Skills Futures, you'll see now there are thousands of courses that have been vetted, have been certified, and every individual in Singapore can use that money and that grant to take up courses for their own upgrading. And with that, it transforms also into every sector. There is also a separate job transformation map that maps out, at this point, 26 sectors that progressively will continue to improve. And so if you are an Edtech in this space, helping to upskill, there are a lot of opportunities within different sectors that will continue to learn, continue to progress. And back to what I shared earlier, we don't see Edtech just at K-12 academic. Edtech can be used for learning across multiple sectors, as it is much needed, right? As we all progress, this is where technology can be implemented for better learning in academics, but also in the future of the industry and jobs. With that, I was told we don't have time for Q&A, so I'm happy to take any questions. After that, I'll be standing over there. Thank you again for having me.
네, 에듀스페이즈 총괄 디렉터 알레스 응님의 발표 들어보았습니다. Thank you, Alex, for your insightful presentation.